Hey game designers, in this video we're gonna do some height adjustments and apply the squash and stretch onto our models. Okay. Um, Before we begin, I want to just take a quick look at the Richard Williams diagram. Okay. And what I want you to see is that the height from the top of the head to the waist is consistent on every single frame. So that means even though the character is, you know, different heights from the down frame being the lowest and the up frame being the highest, the height difference is not being applied from the top of the head to the waistline, which means that most of the squash and stretch is happening on the lower half of the body. Okay. So again, from the height from the top of the head to the waist is the same. So when we squash and stretch, it's going to happen all on the lower part of the body. Okay. So we have that in our mindset. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is identify the frames that are the tallest and the shortest. Okay. And looking at the Richard diagram, we're going to notice that the up position is the highest. So you can see here, this is not the up frame. Let's go to A2. This is the up frame, right? This is when it should be the tallest. So if I zoom in, right, this should be the tallest of the frames, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drag the reference that I have here and put it to the top of the head, okay? And if I go and look at the other frames here, this is the, transition frame here that's going on to prior to pre-contact. This is pre-contact. This is contact, right? But contact is still not the lowest frame. The lowest frame is going to be the down frame, right? So these frames, this frame right here is the lowest frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename A2 and A6. Okay, we're going to rename A2 to the up frame, being the tallest that our sprite will be, and A6 being the lowest the sprite will be. Okay, so I'm going to call it the down frame. Okay, so we got the up frame and the down frame. Okay, now let's go ahead and continue here. A7, okay, we're going into pre-pass, now pass frame, and now we're on the up position on the other side, right? So this A9 is the up frame on the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename that the up frame. And now I'm gonna go on to A10, right? Okay, that's pre-contact. A11 is contact, and then A12 is the other down frame. So let's go ahead and rename this the down frame. So now we have basically kind of four frames that tell us the tallest and the shortest it should be. So let's just look at the up frame first. So I'm going to turn off the two down frames and just make sure that both my characters are the same height. So you can see here that my A9 frame is a little bit taller. My A2 frame is a little bit shorter, right? A2 is right here. A9, which is my up frame, is a little bit taller. So I'm going to move my reference to the highest of the two, right? And if you're going to be that tall on the A2 frame, then the A9 frame also needs to be that tall. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the A2 frame that's a little bit short and using the arrow keys, push him up to the line, right? Right. So now he's as tall on the two up frames. Now, don't worry about the bottom. The bottom, we're going to go back and stretch and squash those later. Okay, I'll teach you how to do that in a minute. But for now, let's just focus on the height. My two A2 frames now are at the same height, which is what I want, right? Peaking just at the head here. Okay. Now we'll check the two down frames. Here's one down frame, and here's the other down frame, right? And I think they're about the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag a ruler, and we're going to drag a reference down to a guideline down to the lowest point. So here, I'm going to grab um, go right here, grab a reference, and I'm going to put it on the top of his head, not his hair, the top of his head, right? And now I'm going to check if this is consistent with the other down frame. Okay, so this down frame, I'm gonna go check the other down frame. And the other down frame is actually a little bit shorter. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the shortest one. Okay, and now I go back to the other shorter one that's too tall. And I'm gonna use again, my arrow keys and push him down a little bit so that his height is the same on both down frames, right? Now both down frames are um, uh, down now, and that's going to be our range, right? So what we got here now is the up frames and the down frames height adjusted. And now all we're doing is that we're going to use these two reference lines to make all the frames in between. So let's go ahead and start with this down frame right here. Or let's start with the A2, right? So A2 is this tall, A6 is this short, and we're going to have to make A3, A4, and A5 down, right? So think about it as three separate reference lines. So I'm going to go A4 in the middle of these two lines. A5 is going to be in between the middle line and the top line. And A3 is going to be between the bottom line and the midline, right? So you kind of get an idea of what we're after here. So I'm going to start with A3 first. And A3 needs to be somewhere in between, right? Let's go ahead and go to A3. A3 needs to be like kind of on the top third, right? So I'm going to go I'll go to A3 here, click on my, make sure I didn't mess up this one. Nope, I didn't mess up that one. Okay, so going to A3, using my not keypad here, I'm going to move him taller, right? Because I'm on my way down. So I'm going to put him right about here, maybe right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go to A4, and A4 needs to be about the halfway point. So I'm going to click on A4. You can see here, make sure that you have auto select off so that you can move the entire sprite. So I'm just going to go ahead and move him about the halfway point. It looks about like the halfway point between here and here. Now A5 needs to be even lower. A5 again should be right close to the bottom. So I'm going to kind of go way down here. Okay, and now A6. So don't worry about the head bobble. We'll fix that later. But looking at A2, the tallest, then A3 going down, then A4 going down, A5 going more down, then A6 going down, right? So now you got this smooth motion going down. Now that we fixed the height on that, let's go fix the height going the other way. So here's A6, right, at the down position. Here's A9 all the way up here. So I only have 2 frames to do in between. I'm going to go to A7 and make sure it's about a third of the way up. Okay, so that looks about a third of the way up right there. Then I'm going to go to A8 and using my arrow keys, making sure that A8 is even closer to the top here. Okay, so we got A6, A7, A8, and now A8 looks a little bit too tall. Let's go put it down a little bit. Turn off the other hair here so that we're not confused. That looks about right. And then A9, right? So now looking at A6, A7, A8, A9, right? So we got this motion going upward for the height adjustment. Now we're going to do the same thing going the other way. Now I'm going to go from the A9, the up position, to the down position, right? And I got 2 frames to do it. So A10, okay? So A10 should be about a third of the way down. So I'm going to go about, that looks like about a third, right? And go to A11. That looks almost right. Let's go ahead and just move it down maybe another pixel or so. And then A12 on the down position again. So let's go ahead and look at it again. A9 is the up, then A10, right? Going more down, then A11 going more down, then A12 going down. Again, don't worry about the head bobble. We will fix that later. Okay, so now you see Homer kind of on his way down. Okay, good. Now we're going to go our way back up again. So A12 all the way to A2, I have 3 frames, A13, A14, A1, and then A2. So I got 3 frames to go from down to up. So basically I should split it into like 4s. So here's A13, right? A13 should be kind of a quarter of the way up. So there's about a quarter of the way up. Let's go to A14, which is way too tall, right? A14 is like taller than my tallest one. It should go about halfway. So here's about halfway. And then go to A1. And A1 should be about 3/4 of the way up. So let's go ahead and make sure I click on that. And I got 3/4 of the way up. So let's go ahead and check it real quick. A12, A13, A14, A1, and then A2. Okay, so you can see that the head is going slightly up each frame. So now that we have a consistent height. So let's kind of look at it from start to finish. So on my way up, or on my way up, I got up already. And now on my way down, then on my way up again, and then on my way down again, and then on my way up again. Okay, so everything looks good there in terms of the consistency of the height. And we'll stop here and we'll continue on the next video.